Good morning. Is everybody enjoying the South Georgia pollen? Anybody? Okay. I don't usually talk through my nose. I am Dr. Michelle Dykes. I'm the president of the Mu Pi chapter of Sigma Theta Tau, which is our nursing honor society, and we are co-hosting this event. We do this annually, and it really goes over well. The Humphrey Fellowship Program has received funding as a Fulbright exchange activity from the U.S. Congress since 1978 to honor the public service career of the late Senator and Vice President Hubert Humphrey. A longtime advocate of international cooperation and understanding, Humphrey served as Vice President of the United States from 1965 to 1969, and for many years as a U.S. Senator from Minnesota. Our own President Jimmy Carter announced the establishment of the Humphrey Program on a state visit to Venezuela in March 1978. It would be a program, Carter said, embodying the values shared by the United States and Venezuela: democracy, social justice, and a desire to assist the developing nations of the world. A year after Carter's declaration, the first Humphrey Fellows arrived in the U.S. They were 27 mid-career professionals from 24 countries who would study at 11 U.S. universities and institutions. The Hubert H. Humphrey Fellowship Program provides 10 months of non-degree academic study and related professional experiences in the United States. Humphrey Fellows are selected based on their potential for leadership and their commitment to public service in either the public or the private sector. The Humphrey Program fosters a mutual exchange of knowledge and understanding about issues of common concerns in the United States and the Fellows' home countries. The program offers Fellows valuable opportunities for leadership, development, and professional engagement with Americans and their counterparts from many nations. More than 5,700 men and women have been honored as Humphrey Fellows since the program began in 1978. Approximately 150 fellowships are awarded annually. 13 major universities in the United States host Humphrey Fellows, and these host universities are chosen for their excellence in the program's designated fields of study and for the resources and support they offer the Humphrey Fellows. In Georgia, Emory University is a host university. Today, we are very lucky to have scholars from this program join us to share their work. Each scholar will speak, and there will be time at the end of the program for questions and answers. Please join me in welcoming our fellows.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Choni, and I'm from Bhutan. Has everyone heard of Bhutan? No? Wow, that's nice. Okay, so let me just start with this slide. I'll let you know where I am from later on. So basically, this is the Capitol building of the place where I come from. It's called PUNAKHA, and it's just next to the place that I work in. So I'm a medical doctor at home, and I work in a district hospital as the chief medical officer. So this is where Bhutan is on the world map, right here. So as you can see, we are in between China and India here. So yeah, this is the map of my country, and this is where I come from. This is how the flag of my country looks like. The yellow color here indicates the civil tradition, and the orange color indicates the spiritual tradition of my country. And the dragon indicates the secular and bond between the civil and the secular tradition. And the white color of the dragon indicates the purity of thoughts and deeds to give equal importance to both the secular and the civil tradition, and also diverse ethnicity in my country. And yeah, so there are lots of several meanings. I wouldn't go further because of time. So our form of government is democratic constitutional monarchy. The parliament consists of a National Assembly of 47 members and National Council of 25 members. The head of state is His Majesty the King, and the head of the country is Prime Minister. The capital is Thimphu, and the national language is Dzongkha. 72% of our land is under forest cover, and as per Constitution, we have to maintain it at least 60%. So this is how large our country is, 38,000 square kilometers. We are having 20 districts, and for a population of 735,000, so yeah, we are not even a million. We have 27 hospitals and 345 doctors. That's for the whole country. So our unemployment rate is, can you see here, 2.4, but the youth unemployment rate is 10.6. People usually get shocked when they see this number. Right, so GDP of the country is, as of now, just 2.5 billion, and we are in the least developing country category. But we are due to graduate from that category in the year 2023. Sorry. The literacy rate is 71%, and the maternal mortality is 89, and it has come down to this number from 965 or something in 1960s. The infant mortality is 15.5 per thousand, and under 5 mortality is 34. Life expectancy at birth is 70.2 years as of 2017, and this has soared from 30.2 in 1960s again. So yeah, we have made great progress in 6 decades of planned development process. So these are the 5 monarchs of our country, and this hereditary monarchy was started in 1907. The first king was, it's not like he conquered the country and said that I'm going to be the king. He was elected by the group of leaders, and that is what makes our country different from other monarchs. So he is the first king, Uginwachu, second king, Jimmy Wanchu, and Jimmy Doji Wanchu, and then the fourth one is Jimmy Singhi Wanchu. He is still alive. Another different, interesting thing about our country is, like, unlike what has happened in the past, where, like, because it's hereditary, once the father is no more, the son takes over. Exactly after 100 years of establishing the monarchy, in 2008, His Majesty the King, Jimmy Singhi Wanchu, he started the democracy. So, and then not just that, he abdicated the throne and gave, his son, Jimmy Khezernamgi Wanchu, took over his office. This usually doesn't happen. So at this time, we have the past, present, and the king, future king together, and this in our country we consider very auspicious. So the fourth Trugelpo ascended the throne at the tender age of 16, and at that time, as you know, the country was still developing. He faced lots of challenges, and also during his first visit, when he went to state visit to India, one of the news reporters asked him about the GDP of a country, and to that he said that for Bhutan, GNH, gross national happiness, is more important than GDP, and that was the beginning of gross national happiness. Did you all ever hear about it? No? Okay, so it's quite famous. So our country is known for that one in other parts of the world. Yeah. So so far we have had 3 prime ministers. The third one, sorry. The third one just got elected in October last year, and he is a urologist. So what is GNH? GNH is a development approach that seeks to achieve a harmonious balance between material well-being and the spiritual, emotional, and cultural needs of an individual society. GNH is based on the belief that since happiness is the ultimate desire of every citizen, it must be the purpose of development to create enabling conditions for happiness. So yeah, happiness is a big deal for people of Bhutan. We have 4 pillars for the GNH, and they are sustainable and equitable socio-economic development, preservation and promotion of culture, conservation of environment, and good governance. And they have like 9 domains. Those are living standards, education, health, cultural diversity and resilience, community vitality, time use, psychological well-being, ecological diversity, and good governance. So for us, although by the way, although the term GNH was introduced way back in 1972, all these measures came into play, and it became more objective only in the year 2008. They started working on it in 2008. And then as a civil servant, all our development progress are based on these indicators. So these are a real thing for our people. Yeah. Gross National Commissions created to mainstream the GNH, and the GNH index adopted with a set of indicators that captures the common aspirations of the Bhutanese people. Like total, we have 33 indicators and 124 sub-indicators. There are 2 tools like GNH indicators for, and the policy screening tools. So these are the tools that basically keep us on track on a day-to-day basis. And also GNH survey is carried out every 2 years to assess the progress and sharpen the policy interventions towards the GNH. So GNH in Bhutan is profound and rooted. And this is said by our first Prime Minister. And he says, we have now clearly distinguished the happiness in GNH from the fleeting, pleasurable, feel-good moods to so often associated with that term. We know that true abiding happiness cannot exist while others suffer and comes only from serving others while living in harmony with nature and realizing our innate wisdom and the true and brilliant nature of our own minds. So how happy are the Bhutanese according to the GNH index? Bhutan is not a country that has attained GNH. Like most of the developing nations, we are struggling with the challenge of fulfilling the basic needs of our people. What separates us, however, from most of others is that we have made happiness the most fundamental human needs as goal of societal change. So very often when we talk about GNH, people think that we are the happiest country, but it's not that. In the latest happiness report, we are way down in I think we stand somewhere around 97. Yeah. So it's just a concept that we follow, but we do work hard to achieve that goal. So having said that, as a Buddhist nation, what we believe is, believe nothing, no matter where you read it or who said it, no matter if I have said it, unless it agrees with your own reason and your own common sense. So this is, the Buddha basically promotes critical thinking, and I do agree that after hearing all these things, some of you might be skeptical about GNH, or you might have your own ideas about happiness not being able to measure or stuff like that. But then we do agree that it can be anything, and for some people, in spite of all this reality, Bhutan still is a place of happiness, and people do come to visit us. And if you happen to be one of those people, this is one place that you should not miss. This is called Parotaksang. It is a monastery that is like situated on a cliff that is like 3,000 meters above the sea level, and this is how it looks. It is one of the most pictured structure in our country. And these are the festivals, very colorful and all. It usually happens in the month of October, but it happens in different districts. And this is one of the most beautiful festivals in our country. Since Bhutan is more than 70% under forest cover, we are really huge on biodiversity. So this is one of the endangered species, black-necked crane, and people do come to visit this at the Phobjikha Valley. We have lots of beautiful structures like this, 108 stupas in the place called Duchula, and the largest bronze temple, Buddha temple, a statue. And we also have the most visible structure, we call it the Memorial Chotin, and it is situated right in the middle of our capital city. And this is our national dress. We wear it casually in field, in town, also in our schools, temples, offices. But we also have people from different ethnic backgrounds, like the Doyas, the Merak-Saktin people, the Lhotsampa, who wear different dress. This is how our food looks like. We usually sit down on the floor, and then our plates are like, we call it dapa. It's made of wood, but now with development, we use the normal plates that we see around here. Our favorite dish is emadasi. We really love chilies. And we love cheese as well. And cheese can be added not just in the curries, but also it can be taken as, we call it snacks, but it's really hard, stone hard cheese, but it takes hours to chew that, but we love that. And this is how we dry our red chilies. And I told you about the Capitol's building that in the beginning of this slide. We have such buildings in all of the 20 districts in our country, and we call it the zong, or the fortress. Few decades back, before the development process started, in fact, centuries back, these zongs were actually built to as a fortress, and now it functions not just as the administrative building, but also as a central body of monastery. So back to the place where I live in, PUNAKHA Valley, and the same zong. This particular zong is very special because it is situated in between two rivers, the Phochu and the Mochu River. And this is the place that I work in, PUNAKHA District Hospital. This is how the hospitals in Bhutan look like. And these are the people that I work with. It's a 40-bedded hospital with 100 staffs. And this is our vision and mission and values. This is the organogram of my hospital. And yeah, that's it. Any questions?
And we'll have time for questions at the end.
Hi, everyone. So I want to take you to Togo, West Africa, French-speaking country. I know some of you speak French, right? Okay, so my name is François Alino. I work at the Ministry of Health as the national focal point of palliative care. So where is Togo? Togo is a small country in West Africa, and we are between Ghana and Benin, not so far from Nigeria. So where you see Nigeria, we are here, Nigeria, Benin, Togo, Ghana, Ivory Coast. So we are on the coast. We are on the coast. It's a small country, you know. The area is 56,000 square kilometers. The population is about 7 million. And You know, the population, they are young, you know, 42% have more than under 15 years. Our currency is franc CFA, and the national language is French, but we have some ethnic language like Ewe, Kabye. So in the country, we all talk Ewe, Kabye, but we have French who as our study language. You know. We have a tropical climate, so we do not have snow. So when we come here, it's, you know, surprise for us to have snow. we have sun all the year. The capital is Lomé. Just some attractive point of Togo, and I want to show the Monument of Independence. So Togo is colonized by France, and we gained our independence on 1960. And this is the place we enjoy the Independence Day, the 27th April. So next week, gonna be our Independence Day. So it's a nice place. This is our main hotel, Radisson Blu. And this is our beach. You know, we are on the coast and we have a place for beach. We do not pay to go to beach. You can just go and it's clean, you know. So I invite you to come. We have the most deepest seaport on the coast. So we can receive the big ship. So I invite you to come to see that small country. Really nice. Culture, we have a diversity culture. You know, here people used to live in traditional way. They use traditional things to build their house. And here is a culture on the north part of the country. This is a kind of culture, our president's ethnic groups. Here, where you have, it's like a transition between young and adolescent. Before to getting married, you need to show that you are strong. You need to show that you can take care of women. So you need to find. You fight in front of, you know, everybody. And you know to show that you are so strong. So after fighting, you can choose your wife. So that's a kind of culture. Yeah. It's a nice when you come to see the way people fight. Cannot imagine. So some of our food, our main food is based on a corn flour. We call it fufu. So we have corn flour. We do have rice, but the most foods are corn flour, fufu, and rice. I want to talk a little bit about challenges that we are facing in the country. The main challenge is our democracy system. We do not have a good democracy. We have the same family who is leading the country for 65 years. So that is a big challenge. You can notice here people are protesting. They want another, they want change, you know. We have our actual president, his father led the country for 38 years, and when his father died, he came, and he's still now for 15 years, and he wanna still for a long time. So people are protesting for that. You know. Another challenge is unemployment. We have a problem. We do not have a job opportunity. So you can see a student and young adults with their bachelor, their masters, and they are doing what we call Uber. You know, your Uber, we are using motorbike to do Uber. Yeah, but what is not good is in our Uber, they take like 2, 3, 4 people in the same Uber. So that's not good because, you know, accident, and so we are fighting for that. But it's because they do not have choice, no job opportunity. Another challenge is clean water. So clean water is a big challenge. Where you go in deep, like the villages, they do not have clean water. So they used to drink water like this. So it's a big challenge for us. Malaria is also, you know, a big challenge because we have tropical climate, so mosquito can develop there. We use mosquito net, but we have kind of a campaign for mosquito net, but we still have challenge with that. I want to talk a little bit about my job. In my job position, the minister asked me to do my best to integrate palliative care in our health system. So we have like a 3-step of in our health system. We do not have states like this because it's a small country. So we have the national level, and we have the regional level, and we have the district level. So what I try to do is to integrate palliative care from national level, regional level, and district level. District level is for community and so. But right now, we already, you know, the government, I want to notice that French-speaking country in West Africa, we are not so involved in palliative care. Palliative care, if you want to find a good palliative care, you need to go to Uganda. Uganda is the model of palliative care. So we are trying to follow Uganda. So the government already take some action. So we plan in our national document, our national plan document, we integrate palliative care on that, and we have a partnership with some organization to help us to integrate the palliative care in our health system. What kind of palliative care we want to do, and maybe talk a little bit about what is palliative care. You know, so palliative care is a package of care that we are giving to people with serious diseases. More than 75% of patients that got palliative care are cancer patients and HIV patients. So we try to give them the physical treatment. The physical treatment is focused on pain management. Most of the patients who have, we do not have hospice because of the culture where you talk about hospice, people do not accept. Because in Africa, especially in our country, you cannot bring your father or your mother in a hospice and leave him. We have someone who can take care, so we always have them at home, and that's why we talk about palliative care. But in the process, we know that people whose life expectancy will not be more than 6 months, they are in hospice care program, but we call all that palliative care. So the pain management, the physical treatment is focused on pain management, and we use morphine, oral morphine, to deal with that. But we still have challenge with the availability of opioids, especially for children. We're still using tramadol for children, but it's not good. Tramadol for children to control children pain right now, it's only in Togo. And we also have we have the psychological treatment. The psychological treatment is all psychosocial support that we give to the patient. We have the social, and we have the spiritual. The spiritual is, in Africa, we are a little bit focused on our religious, and we practice. So when we have our patients, we work with them in spiritual way. Most of our patients always ask themselves, why me? Sometimes people think that maybe this kind of diseases come from somewhere, or somebody is doing, so we have some kind of believing. So the spiritual treatment is a big part of our treatment. And we have the culture. We try to know what is the meaning of that disease. If we take cancer, what is the meaning of cancer in their culture? And what they do to deal with that disease in their culture. Sometimes some patients will tell you, I need to go back to my village to do some rites and come back. And when they go back and come back, sometimes they feel good. Because our main idea is not to prolong their life, is to make our best, to do our best to improve their life quality. So when they feel bad, they feel good, we are happy. So, as I said, for cancer, HIV, especially for cancer, most of our patients come with, their cancer is almost generalized before they come. So there is no possibility, but we try to do the curative care and the palliative care at the same time. We do not need to wait for the chemotherapy so we start palliative care as soon as possible. And palliative care is from the beginning. As soon as we have the diagnosis, we start palliative care. Until the patient dies, we still doing palliative care with the family, because we need to help the family to deal with the situation. Sometimes, in Africa, we do not have that culture to write our will. So, and we have a polygamy system. So when the chief of the family die, sometimes it's a big challenge. We have conflict. Who's gonna take this? Who's gonna have this? So we have to organize family meeting and try to talk with everyone to make them have the same idea. So we start palliative care as soon as we have the diagnosis, and palliative care go until the patient die, and after they die, we still follow the family. So our stakeholder asked my desk, as my job is to integrate palliative care in the health system, so I work with some organization, some division. So the Ministry of Health, the ministry is one of my stakeholders. Sometimes you need to write a policy brief and explain why it's important to put money in palliative care. It's a big challenge because sometimes they told me, palliative care is not important. We have malaria, we have this, so it's a big challenge. We need to do advocacy every day about that. So the Minister of Health, we have WHO, so we try to get the help of WHO. And we have the public hospital. Our main hospital is CHU Sylvanus Olympio, is the biggest. And we have the pharmacist, the office who is in charge of medicine command. So we try to work with them. We are working also with private hospital and NGO and Palliative Care Association. So this is some activities that we organized before I left the country. So this was a policy brief day where we talk about palliative care. This is my boss, the NDC director. So I'm under this guy directly. So this is another sensibilization that we organize in our main hospital, Sylvanus Olympio. This is a pediatric training that we done with nurses and clinical officers and physicians. This is a meeting we done with Africa Palliative Care. Africa, we call it APCA. It's a big association, a NGO who help us. They give us money to do palliative care, to implement palliative care in the country. And this is also, we try to explain what is palliative care to journalists. We try to give the right awareness for everyone in the community. This is a training. So this is mostly with Africa Palliative Care. We also have a partnership with MDM, World Physician from Switzerland. So we organize a conference on palliative care for West Africa. Yeah. And we also organize some training on pediatric palliative care. But we still have some problem. As I say, we're still using tramadol for children. But right now we have like a guideline for children palliative care that we are trying to implement. We still need to improve all that. This is me for home visits. Sometimes we have like exchange. So I went to Congo, Brazzaville, to share what we do in Togo and to learn from what they are doing in Brazzaville. So this is home visit. We visit some patients at home. Yeah. So we still have many challenges to implement palliative care in Togo. We do not have funds because for them, palliative care is not the priority. The priority is malaria, is infectious diseases and other. And we still have challenge with morphine, the use of morphine. Physicians still have fear of morphine because of the second side of morphine. So I don't know if in America you guys have the same thing. In our country, sometimes physicians do not want to prescribe morphine because they don't know maybe how to manage the second side. Poverty, and we do not have a national health insurance system. We have insurance, but that insurance is only for people who are working for the government. So in the community, poor people, and in villages, they do not have insurance. If they come to the hospital, they need to pay everything. So that is a big challenge for us. But the government have a very strong will for the integration of palliative care. And my hope is maybe in the 2 or 3, 5 years, we will have a strong program of palliative care, and we can improve the quality of life of our patients. Thank you so much for listening to me. Merci beaucoup.
Hi, everyone. Okay, so my name is Ezinne Peters. I am a physician, primarily from Nigeria, and now I am a public health practitioner and a development worker. Yes, I have a presentation I will be sharing with you, but it's important to mention that most of what I'll be saying may not necessarily be on the slide. So as seen here, I'm from Nigeria. How many of you have heard of Nigeria before? Okay, yeah, everyone. Thank you very much. Nigeria is a country located in West Africa, as Francois had stated. We were colonized by the British. And so this means that almost every Nigerian you come across will be speaking relatively good English and will be able to communicate in a very comprehensive fashion. It is often referred to as the giant of Africa due to our large population and our economy. We have 2 main seasons, rainy and dry, unlike here where you have 4 seasons. We have an estimated population based on the World Bank statistics, an estimated population of about 190 million people. We are considered the most populous in Africa. We are the 7th most populous country in the world. And we are ranking right behind China and India as having the 3rd largest youth population in the world. So on this, I'll also mention that if you pay attention, you will notice that there are a lot of Nigerians around you. It's very difficult to move through any part of the world without seeing a Nigerian. In fact, there's a standard joke back home that anywhere you go to and you don't find a Nigerian, then it's uninhabitable. Yes, because we tend to move to even the most remote areas and make something out of nothing. Maybe it's as a result of our population, who knows? But somehow we know that there are relatively small resources for these number of persons, and that makes us go out to seek our fortune across the world. And so far, so good. Nigeria is inhabited by over 300 ethnic groups. It is described as a multinational state. What does this mean? Because we have over 300, the estimate is actually 350. We have 3 major tribes, the Hausas, who are up north, the Igbos and the Yorubas, who are down south. And with these ethnic groups come different languages. Even though it is being projected that a lot of languages are dying off, But when you come into Nigeria right now, you're going to see people speaking very many languages. But because English is our lingua franca, that makes it very, very common to see even people who are considerably uneducated speaking sound English in Nigeria. So yeah, it's our official language. We are roughly divided into half of our populations, with each group being Christian or Muslim. We also have the traditional religious worshippers. I'm not sure if you guys have an idea of what that means. Before the West colonized some of us, we had our own version of religion. We had our own gods we worshipped. And because we are undergoing a renaissance right now, we're beginning to question if everything we were told that were wrong are actually wrong. But that's a topic for another day, sorry. Yeah. So, even though we are known to have two types of weather, the rainy and the dry, Nigeria is predominantly hot all through the year. However, I have highlighted what we call the temperate regions in Nigeria. Even though we have the hot weather all through, we have regions of Nigeria that experience snowfall. It's going to be a huge surprise to a lot of you. We have the Gembu area in Taraba. We have, it experiences snowfall. We also have an area called Jos. I have not included them here, Jos town. They experience hailstorms, they experience snowfall. And no, it's not due to climate change. It has always been that way. We have the Obudu Hills, and we have the Obudu Cattle Ranch. Now, these temperate regions are usually occupied by expatriates when they come to Nigeria. Because of the weather and the viability of some of the fruits you guys enjoy, strawberry and all of that, and beautiful flowers, it's almost always spring weather in those areas. So that's why I've highlighted these areas in case any one of you would want to come visit. Now, when you talk of Nigeria, we have a capital city called Abuja, which I didn't, include in this presentation. But you cannot discuss Nigeria without mentioning our commercial nerve center called Lagos. Lagos is the hub of everything in Nigeria. It's the hub of fun, it's the hub of economic development, it's the hub of, just call it the economic and sociocultural melting point of the whole of West Africa. At the risk of sounding immodest, Francois is here. He understands the significance of Lagos for the rest of Africa and in West Africa, particularly. So Lagos as a state is inhabited by over 22 million people. And that means that Lagos as a state is bigger than a lot of countries. So you're welcome to enjoy Lagos whenever you're in Nigeria. Nigeria is the land of culture. And if you see any Nigerian, one of the things we do proudly is wear our identity. This is called the Durbar. You see it up north. It's like, there's this thing, the royal ascot that happens in England, where they wear all their hats and their horses and all of that. So this is the equivalent in northern Nigeria. It has always been there. It was there before the British came. It remained there right after they left and has been there till this day. We have the Agungu Fishing Festival. We're a bit unlike the West, where there are a lot of restrictions about fishing, a lot of restrictions about what species to go after and what species to live. For a lot of us, these are means of livelihoods. These are means of survival, and sometimes it's a means of showing off culture at its best. So this is an Agungu Fishing Festival. It holds every year where there's a competition for the person who catches the biggest size of fish. As part of our culture, Nigeria is the land of dance. At some point, we are considered one of the happiest people on earth, despite the state of our political process, the state of our economic processes. We learned to adapt. Certain things that plagued other parts of the world rarely plagued us, because our response to trauma included dance. And this is only a type of dancing in the southeastern part of Nigeria. It is very athletic, and it is one of the things you see in America's Got Talent. You know, when people climb and everyone is applauding. So for us, it's not a big deal. Like you're born climbing, you know what I mean? Everyone is climbing and dancing. Yeah. So this is another type of dance. This is considered almost spiritual by the person who wears it. You're supposedly to undergo some rites before you're able to wear this. This is called a masquerade. I've written the name in our local dialect, and it's called Mmong. I don't know if any of you knows about Chimamanda Adichie, the writer. Anyone here has read about her? Okay, interesting. So Chimamanda Adichie, one of the most outstanding things about her books is her ability to integrate our local dialect along with what she writes in English. So if you see any of her books, she'll probably mention the Mmong as a masquerade, and this is what she means. Before we were colonized, we used to go to war, intertribal, interethnic wars, intercommunal wars, and one of the markers of a successful war for this particular group, the Abriba people, was to return with the skulls of the people they had conquered during the war. It was one of the things that earned you a title amongst men. Those times are gone. They are totally gone today. However, to celebrate culture, we still do go along with the dance. So these are the Abriba people reliving their past. This was in England. You know, dancing with make-believe skulls, you know, reliving what their ancestors were known for. And as part of our response to our culture, we don't wear lots of what you guys wear. We don't wear heavy clothing. We tend to go bare-chested for the men, and for the women, the tie wrapper that stops at their knees and exposes their shoulder. Well, this was before colonization. Now we all dress, you know, just like you do. For those of you who are very familiar with the Broadway, there's a Nigerian who has made his mark. Please feel free to Google this right after. Fela Anikulapo Kuti. He has made a huge impact on Broadway that had sparked the interest of Jay-Z, Beyonce, and all of that. So you cannot discuss Nigeria and Nigeria's dance and Nigerian people without mentioning Fela Anikulapo Kuti. For us, he wasn't just a musician. He was an advocate of good democracy. He was an advocate of everything good in Nigeria. I mean, he had his flaws, yes, but discussion on Nigeria cannot be complete without mentioning Fela Anikulapo Kuti. And Nigeria is the land of the talking drum. I had an experience here where I was invited by a school. I think it was the Galloway School. So while I was there, I was met by their teachers, their I think creative arts or something teachers, and they said they had a talking drum from Nigeria. And I was quite impressed. I had no idea that our talking drum had walked all the way to Georgia in the US. So this is Emmanuel Macron, for those of you who know him, and those who don't. He's the Prime Minister, or President of France. So you cannot come to Nigeria without experiencing the talking drum. And what this means is that everything I'm telling you now can be beaten on the drum. So you're welcome to experience it whenever you're around. Nigeria is the land of dressing. We dress as culture demands. We dress to be happy. We dress to do everything that would, you know, make us glad. It's part of our existence. So yeah, this is at a traditional wedding. This is a man and his sons dressed in our garb to an event. And these are our young men, also in our native wrapper, dressed. As part of our culture, we also have some monarchies that were hurt as part of colonization, yes, but some of them eventually survived. And one of them is the Oba of Benin. If you go to some museums in England, in fact, there's an ongoing conversation now where Nigerians are demanding that part of our culture taken during colonization be returned. This particular kingdom, the Benin Kingdom, before the China Wall. I don't know, you've heard of the Great Wall of China. So the Benin Kingdom had a wall. And I think it was considered longer than the China Wall at some point before, it gave way. But they had a wall that protected them, a fortress that protected them against the British colonial masters. And this is the current Oba of Benin during his crowning as Oba. So this is part of the process still. And this is when, he had, what do you call them? Helpers who carried him to the event. So these are the Obas. So traditionally, the Oba doesn't marry one wife. What you would consider alien here is culture to us, or to this particular tribe. These are his 3 wives, and this happens voluntarily. Nobody is forced to do it. So it's not a case of anybody going up in arms to say this needs to stop. No, this is culture, and the women are as educated as you and I, and they have chosen to toe the path of their ancestors in doing this. Now, I've done a bit of talking about Nigeria. I'll talk generally about what I do, or what I was doing and what I am doing now. So before I came here, I was the head of health of Save the Children International. Has anyone heard of Save the Children here? So Save the Children is an international organization. It's present in over 100 countries of the world. I was the head of health in Nigeria. I was overseeing projects, all health projects in Nigeria. Before I came, my job was largely into 3 different areas. One was business development. What this meant was I was part of the senior management team that scouted for opportunities, funding opportunities for projects. It meant building business intelligence, because I know when you hear of healthcare, it's very difficult to merge healthcare with business intelligence. But one of the things that will cross your mind is, once you're in this field, even if you're in the hospital curing people, you'll also be looking out for funding opportunities. So this takes you to websites. It makes you network. Everybody is part of the networking process, looking for funds to take care of one project or another. That was one of my primary responsibilities. Another thing I did was I oversaw projects directly. I had people reporting to me who were involved in projects that had to do with taking care of under 5 mortality cases, or preventing childhood diseases, pneumonia, diarrhea, and all of that. I also had cases of building the strength of healthcare workers, because one of Nigeria's biggest problems is poor health systems. So even if you get $10 billion to invest in our healthcare system, to invest in healthcare in Nigeria, taking care of diarrhea, HIV, TB is not the answer. The answer is taking care of the system so that it's able to withstand malaria, able to withstand TB, able to withstand Ebola, whatever it is that comes. So I had a project under me that was doing that. Another role I also carried out was basically administrative, where I took care of personal and professional development of people who reported to me. So summarily, that was what I was doing for Save the Children before I came. And this cut across multiple disease areas. So you couldn't necessarily pencil me down for one particular disease area and doing all of that. However, before then, I had worked in HIV, tuberculosis, and STIs, and a bit of maternal and child health. So just say that in the past 11 years plus of being a physician in Nigeria, I have had experience across multiple areas. Here in Atlanta, I'm working with the CDC on this project called IMPACT, Improving Public Health Management for Action. What are we doing? The CDC, like I stated, had identified that one of Nigeria's problems has been health systems. And if you read up health systems, it has about 6 prongs. And one of the prongs is human resources for health, where we're having a problem getting strong and well-trained public health managers who are able to convert scientific finding, technological advancement from what you see in the books and translate them to field practice and translate them to implementation and translate them to action. So the CDC has noticed that that is one of Nigeria's weaknesses, and they've included Nigeria among the impact recipient countries. So this project seeks to train public health managers in the Nigerian health space. It's divided into two cadres. The first cadre is for senior management. The other cadre is for junior workers. So that way, when they are able to build these people go back, assimilate what they've taken, and step it down to their colleagues. So that way, the training is spread across multiple people, and these people share the knowledge amongst themselves, and they are able to build a strong team that would respond to whatever disease that comes our way. This was especially important after Nigeria was able to combat Ebola in 2014. I think we were the only country in West Africa that was hit by Ebola, but was able to take care of it as soon as it landed. So after that, the Nigerian government has been very open to welcoming investments and interest in strengthening our health systems. So that is what I am doing right here in Atlanta, and it's been an interesting experience so far. So I think that's about summarily what my presentation is on. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. My name is Malik. I'm a medical doctor and also a public health worker, just like Azane just mentioned. So how many of you have heard about Maldives? Nigeria is a giant country. Everyone has heard about Nigeria, but I'm not sure about Maldives. Anyone knows where it is located? One person. Where? Let's hear the answer. Yeah. Correct. Yes. That's very good. And since Francois said Togo is a very small country, I don't know what word I have to use now. Because Maldives is a tiny country. It's like micro compared to Togo. We are located south of India. Where's the pointer? Which one is the pointer? Okay. So that's India, Sri Lanka, and we are here in the middle of the Indian Ocean. This is Maldives, that's India, and we are small, tiny islands, a group of tiny islands. That's our flag and the emblem. This is the whole country, and this is one state, if you call it. So we have got like 26 natural states. Or the word we use for state is not state, or not county, or not region. It's called atoll. This is the only English word that has come from the Maldivian language. So a ring of islands is called atoll, and this is what's used in English to describe or to define a group of islands in with a reef and coral sand. So I just wanted everyone to learn a new thing. To come into the history, the earliest settlers were Tamils from Sri Lanka and India. Before Maldives became 100% Muslim. Now we are a 100% Muslim country. We were Hindu and Buddhist. We were a sultanate until 1952 when we changed to a republic and had our first president, President Amin Didi. And then he didn't do a very good job, so everyone decided that we needed to go back to a sultanate, which means a monarchy or a kingdom. And again, we had our second monarchy from 54 to 68, where there was another referendum and changed back to a republic. And President Nasir was the second president. We were colonized by the Portuguese and the Dutch earlier, and then the British came and expelled the Dutch, and we were under protectorate state under the British because they were occupying the southernmost island as their Air Force base. So because they were present in Maldives, no other colonial powers were able to come. But we were independent from the British even when they were there because they just only wanted the Air Force base. So our sultanate and the government was running. But officially, in 1965, when the British left and the protectorate state was removed, we identify our independence to be from 1965 itself. So more recently, we started having a true democracy. Before 2008, we were having a democracy, but then the same president was ruling for more than 30 years. So like in Togo, we can't call it a true democracy. Since then, we've been in a democratic state, and then last year we had our presidential elections, and now we have a new president who's from our Democratic Party, and then hoping for a lot of good changes. The government is of 3 divisions: the executive branch, where the president rules, and the judiciary, where the chief justice leads, and the parliament, with 87 members from 87 constituencies, which come from the 26 atolls. Economically, Maldives is ranked in the upper middle income category by the World Bank. Our GDP per capita is very high because our main industry is tourism. A lot of tourists, mainly from Europe, and now from South Asia, China, and even from Australia and the US come to Maldives for vacations due to obvious reasons. Second most economic industry is fisheries, because 99% of the country is ocean. Just 1% is the land mass. Some facts and figures. It's very small, 90,000 square kilometers. This is with the 99% of ocean. It's the lowest and the flattest nation in the world, with the highest point about 1.5 meters above sea level. So we're just like very, very flat. We have a population of less than 400,000 people. Literacy is very high, 98%. Almost everybody is English speaking, just like in Nigeria, because we have the British education system and we follow their system to sit for the ordinary or O-level examinations in grade 10 and A-level examinations in grade 12, and then go to university directly. The weather is monsoon with 2 seasons, and the temperatures are stable throughout the year, from 86 Fahrenheit highest to 77 Fahrenheit the lowest. So we don't like the winter. I don't like the winter personally. This is the smallest country in South Asia and the smallest Muslim country in the world. Maldives has a huge problem due to climate change because it's a very vulnerable country, and once the sea level rises or the temperature rises more than 2 degrees globally, a lot of our islands will submerge underwater. Right now we have 1,192 islands. That is after we lost about 4 islands during the 2004 tsunami. Yeah, so if global climate change continues, we will lose more islands due to the sea level rising. In 2011, UNESCO designated an area comprised of about 75 islands as a World Heritage Site, or which is called the Ba Atoll Biosphere Reserve. This is where like more than 250 species of corals and fish exist. And Maldives is globally one of the countries which has the most number of marine turtles, and it is illegal to even touch a turtle. So, let alone do anything else. We have the biggest number of whale sharks in the world, and the former president, to bring climate change vulnerability into global perspective, held a cabinet meeting underwater where the whole cabinet was in scuba gear. This was just before the COP summit in Copenhagen. And after that, he also led the delegation in the Paris summit when the Paris Convention was signed. We have a lot of dolphins and sharks whereby scuba diving becomes a very, very well-liked sport by the tourists. And we have actually 3 different stories. This is the resorts where everybody goes for holidays. The middle is the capital city, Male, where I live, which is one of the most congested places on the world map. It's like about 1.5 square kilometers and 150,000 people. So, I mean, you can't even breathe. And this is our international airport, which is one separate island on its own. And these are the local islands where people live, which is the true Maldives. Male is a congested city. This is, a bit fake resort islands. These are the more natural islands. To go a little bit into the health system, it's 3-tier health system, referral, tertiary, primary, and secondary. And we have our health indicators very well, especially us being a South Asian country. Cholera was eliminated in the 70s. We don't have a problem of malnutrition or underweight. Vaccination coverage is 98%. Malaria was eradicated in 84. Filaria is eliminated. Measles, rubella is eliminated. Congenital syphilis and transmission of HIV from mother to child has been declared eliminated last year. HIV prevalence is less than 0.001. So communicable diseases in Maldives is almost non-existent, except for some diseases like dengue fever, which is due to the tropical nature and the monsoon rains. Our problems are due to non-communicable or chronic diseases, like in the Western world. Like in the United States, the mortality or deaths due to non-communicable diseases is about 70%. In Maldives, it's about 84%. So 84% of Maldivians die due to non-communicable or chronic diseases like heart disease, cancer, diabetes, stroke, and such. So this is the major issue, and this is the issue that I am working on. Future emerging issues could be emergence of antimicrobial resistance, because it's an issue and a lot of overuse happens. Or new zoonotic diseases like the SARS, the MERS, virus, Ebola, swine, bird flu, which might come to Maldives because it is a tourist hub and a lot of people from all over the world travel. So there's a threat of these diseases being spread to the Maldives because of the networks through tourism. We even had one case of imported Zika. Yeah, so that's due to our tourism nature. So my work right now is through the fellowship in Emory. I'm working in the Center for Disease Control and Prevention in the Non-Communicable Disease Control Division, particularly in cancer control. And even back home, I work with the Cancer Society of Maldives, and I work at the public hospital where I maintain the quality standards and work on the public health aspects of disease prevention. So for us, even if the country is very, very well in their health indicators as to maternal mortality or infant mortality and infectious disease control, we have a bigger problem at hand. So this is my focus area right now. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for any of the Humphrey Fellows? No, just say, we can probably hear you.
My question is more based on the story here in Barcelona. My name is Olga. My family from Sierra Leone and Gambia, so we're neighbors. I wanted to ask about, this is a question I have a lot, but I discuss a lot with my family, is what changes you think we can make in West Africa as far as infrastructure, because like Salad is very behind while we're top 10 tourists. And recently there's been a lot of great people intervening, especially influence from China, especially Vietnam. And so I was wondering if you had any suggestions or anything to do about this kind of stuff.
So interestingly, I just okay. So interestingly, about last week or 2 weeks ago, I was in a meeting with the Chinese team at the Carter Center, where conversations were, bordered on what they could do for Africa to make a change. The Chinese, for instance, invest a lot in infrastructure. They're very good at it, structures, building, and all of that. USAID has done a lot also for Africa. I think our problems are, first of all, saying no to neocolonialism. For a lot of, I don't know how it is in other African countries, but for Nigeria, for instance, we have the technical manpower to implement whatever project on earth that is designed to be implemented. We have the mental, wherewithal, for lack of a better way of putting it. We have a vibrant set of people who can do this. Our concern largely borders on accountability. I think that is the same problem almost everywhere in Africa, because it's not enough to build infrastructure, honestly. It's not enough also to bring the millions and millions of US dollars brought in every time. It's not enough. As a people, we need to tell ourselves that we need to change who we are. We need to change our response to problems. We need to talk to ourselves. And personally, I don't think you're going to change no matter how much any other person tells you to change, except you choose to change yourself. So I think our problem at this point may be internal. Personally, I have a tough love approach to certain things. I don't think pampering all the time is the response. You know what I mean? If China brings all the billions in the world to bring infrastructure, and USAID, you say, it brings all the millions in the world to implement projects, and we see it as something that should happen for us all the time, it doesn't, you know what I mean? That's not the solution. But at the same time, if we're talking economics and healthcare, if we think that way strictly, the result is the people that suffer the most are the poorest. You know what I mean? If we choose to be that strict in thinking, the poor keep dying while the middle class, keeps surviving. So we have to find a fine balance between saying, thank you for the aid, we can take it from here, and also carrying along the most vulnerable groups in our societies. There just has to be a fine balance. And there's no other person to have this conversation except ourselves. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's not a messianic thing. It wouldn't work that way. Yes, but it's also important to mention that sometimes some of these people, it's their livelihood. So our idea is to make universal health coverage reach everyone. You know what I mean? But you also don't want to stop people from living, the way they want to live. You can't really stop people. You get what I'm saying? Some people love to fish. So even if you bring universal health coverage to them 1 million times over, they still love to fish. So that they are fishing doesn't necessarily mean, you know what I mean? Yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are in dire need. You know what I mean? People become millionaires in that livelihood, and they are fine. But all we are saying is, whenever this person gets sick, he should be able to go out, get care, you know what I mean, without it costing him an arm and a leg. Yeah.
In the interest of time, because I know that some of you guys have classes to get to and we're running a little bit over, that you can go to the Emory website and you can actually Google Humphrey Fellows, and there's a direct email link to all of these scholars, and they will be able to give you some feedback back. I hate to cut it short because I know you want to speak, but and you're welcome to come and speak with him. And we're going to walk over and get some lunch here in a minute. Make sure you swipe your card on the way out. We're also going to walk over with the scholars that were from here, also from the ones that were across campus, and do lunch in the cafeteria. So if anybody would like to come over and join the scholars to eat,